baby. Nasty bingo. That's what I'm talking.
We're starting this video off with important information for you guys. Storms are coming. It's time for you guys to get on the list. John Dock Recovery is booming. We are growing so fast, it is crazy. We have literally like a 1% turnover. It used to be 0%, but someone did a terrible job and they no longer work for me. So we have literally 1% turnover, which I think is amazing. If you guys are interested in making some money, we do storm recovery, disaster relief stuff. Don't want to get too much into it, but the pay is great. The guys, the crew that work are absolutely awesome. Mostly guys that are into motorsports because of my YouTube channel or just people we know. So very common interests. We work really well together. Really good pay. The work is super simple, and we reimburse and pretty much cover almost all expenses. You gotta have a 3/4 ton truck. I have transfer tanks I can provide you. The pay is, like I said, I can't stress the pay is good. I mean, if you work, you know, you're out there working a handful of days, you're making thousands of dollars. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. I'm not gonna say rates online, but you know, I think I've never had anyone complain about the pay, I can tell you that. And as soon as they work one storm, they are dying to go out there and work the rest. So I can't speak highly enough. I'm very thankful and proud of all the guys that work for us. David, Mason, Logan, CJ, a bunch of guys that watched or with us from the YouTube channel. Very thankful for all of them, and everyone does a really good job, and that's the goal. Is we want everyone to go out there, work hard, we all eat, and we all succeed together. That's the name of the game. So if you guys are interested in that, send me an email at johndocrecovery@gmail.com. David will probably get back with you, and we'll get you signed up. 3/4 ton truck. I can provide you transfer tanks, PPE like high-vis shirt, high-vis vest, some work boots, some hand tools. That's pretty much it. We will set you up with everything else you need to go out there and make money. We pay for your travel time to and from the event. We have a minimum, so if you just sit in the hotel all day, you're getting paid. We provide hotels and we reimburse all the fuel. I mean, that's, go out there, work, make stuffing your pockets full of money, just stuffing them full of money with no expenses. Does it get any better than that? I call it the race car fund, because a lot of guys go out there and they work, and the next storm, they got wheels, tires, lift kit on their truck. And the next storm, they're sending me pictures of this big-ass turbo they got or a new motor they got. Like, it's, JDR is out there building race cars for people, and I'm here for it. So, speaking of race cars, let's get into it. You guys saw us running Slick Rick this past weekend. It was good. We made some progress. I was happy with it. This stuff's very challenging. I have a very good support system, but it's definitely a different feeling when you're punching the keys at the racetrack yourself and making the changes that you're like, yeah, I think this will work, and then you go and sit in the car and let go of the button, and you're like, hey, that worked, that's good. So some things we're gonna go over. I guess let's start front to back. We had to work on the charge pipe a little bit. It was leaking, but I think it was leaking from, I don't know, what was it leaking from?
I mean, it just had a little spot right here. You could see a little oily residue. And
I shut the car off with the kill switch, not with the ECU, and when you do that, the scavenge pump stops running. So the motor was still turning some RPMs, the scavenge pump stopped, and it backed up some oil, so we cleaned all that out, resealed everything. Everything's good to go. We do have to make some configuration changes. We were capped at running about 40 pounds of boost because we could not put enough dome pressure on the wastegates. We have it's supposed to be a 0 to 200 PSI sensor in here, but when it was actually built at Rife, it was built incorrectly, and it has a map sensor in there. So it's like a 0 to 105 because it's reading vacuum, so you can't get like, it's a map sensor. It's not a just true PSI sensor. So I have a new one on the way. So we were only able to put 100 PSI, really 95 PSI of dome pressure, and that was not enough to keep the wastegate shut. I can know that because we have a wastegate position sensor, and as we're going down track, the wastegates are between 15 and 25% open, where we're trying to create more shaft speed, more boost. You need to have that thing shut. So I'm like, damn, let's look at some things. Let's look at the back pressure, the drive pressure on the turbo. If we were making 40 pounds of boost and it was making 90 PSI of drive pressure, we're out of turbo. But it was making 40, I think the most we made was 42 pounds of boost, and it made like 49 or 50 pounds of drive pressure. So we're literally just not working the turbo. So we can go a whole lot faster. So we got a new pressure transducer coming that just pops right out and you pop it right in. So we'll have a 300 PSI sensor here, and then we are going to change the regulator to a 300 PSI regulator, and then we're going to have a step down regulator that goes for the shifter, and the parachute, and the CO2 handle, because they like to run at about 125 PSI, so we don't want to kill those by running too much. So that's pretty much everything we have going on here. We're going to put the car up in the air, and we're going to check the bearings. I'm not proud to say this, but I think I run the cars too long with the oil they have in them. I've gone 80 passes in the black sheep before I change the oil, and what happens with this methanol oil just absorbs the methanol and it soaks up the moisture, so it's called milking the oil. You guys will see, really, as soon as you fire it up, the first fire up, the oil is just going to look like shit. That's why I really don't like the clear view, because it just looks terrible. Let's see what we got in here. So we just cleaned it out, and there's some junk in it. I don't know if the junk will ever... I've never seen a clear view that actually looks good. Yeah. It's another reason why I don't like the clear view. I don't really see any brass or anything in there, which is good. So what we're gonna do... Well, anyway, sorry, I'm all over the place. What happens is it milks the oil, it gets that moisture, it gets that methanol in the oil, and it obviously like takes away from its lubrication factor, which it makes it thinner. So in the case of the black sheep, when I ran it for way too many passes, you're adding moisture to it. So when you go to drain, it's an 8-quart pan, 16 quarts of oil come out. You're like, oh shit. And then you're like, well, that explains why the oil pressure was kind of all over the place and stuff was acting up. This has twice as many injectors and a charge pipe injector, so it's running a whole lot more fuel. Also, it's a lot bigger motor, so it's running a whole lot more fuel. The oil pressure and everything seems to be fine until it's not fine. So I went up there to go and make a pass, and as I was backing up, it was just like counting down like 40, 39, 38, all the way down to like 17, and I shut the car off. I fired it up and held it up like on RPM, tried to get the oil pump spinning to make more oil pressure, and it did. I did that before I shut it off. Then I shut it off, and I was like, damn, I had a buy run, I had to pull it in the beams. So fire it back up, and it's got 50 psi of oil pressure. So I think it was just like sucking the moisture, like it was like running on straight methanol instead of oil at that point in time. I put it in the beams and made a lick, and we came back and we changed the oil, and then boom, oil pressure is great. So because of that, we're going to check the bearings on this thing. We're going to put it up in the air, we're going to drop the pan, we're going to roll some bearings out and make sure nothing got hurt or damaged or anything like that. If the bearings don't look absolutely amazing, we will shove a new set of bearings in there. So that is my mistake. We went about 25 passes without changing oil on this thing. Probably too much. Maybe we need to be changing oil every 10 passes or so. So that is something where I just kind of... that's my bad. I've made that mistake before on the black sheep. The black sheep, we changed it at about 30 passes, and it seems to be good. It's not really too bad. It's not milked or anything. The oil looks good. But also what we do is we have oil pan heaters in both the cars. We take the valve cover breathers off, and we plug the oil pan heaters in.
That one's actually plugged in right now.
Yeah, it's plugged in. You can see there's a cord. Look, it's going. It looks like it's an electric car. You think it's a Tesla. Just plugged right in there. And it's got the valve cover breathers off. And what that does is you are literally baking the moisture out of it. If you go up to the motor, you can literally hear the oil boiling in the oil pan. And that really extends the longevity of the oil. I think on this one, we were leaving it in the trailer and we were running it so much, we weren't baking the oil. So that's something where I just got to do better at staying on top of. So that's my mistake. I don't think the motor's hurt or anything. We have an extra set of bearings. We roll them in there. If they don't look great, we'll be good with that. So as you can see, just the cost of operating this thing, you're talking about changing oil. We run Schaefer's oil, which is, I mean, to me, it's insurance because of stuff like this. If we were running some other oil, it probably would have hurt the motor. So it might be a hair more expensive than everything else, but it saves you money in the long run. So as you can see, just the cost of operating this unit is pretty expensive. I talked about the regulator. So I'm looking for a regulator. I need up to a 300 PSI regulator, and then we're gonna step it down and put an inline regulator to regulate the other shit to 125 PSI. Another costly thing that was happening when we were running this vehicle is the transmission is puking a lot of fluid. The way these 400s work, they're all pretty much the same aftermarket Mickey 2-speed 400s. This one's a 130 gear set, internal, external dump, 2-stage lockup, which we haven't run any of the lockups yet. Very, very badass transmission. This one here is a 140 built gear set, one external dump, no non-lockup. So they're very similar. The way that you fill these things up is you fill them up in gear. So if you guys ever see like a video of the car running, like Logan pull it in gear, you'll literally fill it up with it off, and it'll be overflowing, and then when you fire it up, it sucks it down. So these transmissions usually like what you just fill them up and they puke out what they don't want, and then it's good. On the super high horsepower stuff like this with a big converter, your converter charge outlet temperature, your converter outlet temperature, your converter, your torque converter outlet temperature, I guess that would be it. Yeah, your The temperature of the fluid coming out of the torque converter is so hot, it's expanding so much, it pukes like crazy. So the issue that I was having was we were losing about a quart and a half every pass, and it just goes into the burn down tank in the back. Well, obviously you got some methanol vapor and some moisture going in there, you got some oil from the engine, and you got transmission fluid, so you couldn't use it. So this thing was burning, you know, a quart to 2 quarts every pass. We're using that Schaefer's All-Trans Supreme, which I love it because you can get that shit super hot and it still works. You don't really ever burn it up. But when you're just puking it out the back, that shit gets very, very, very expensive. Think about how many passes we've made and how many
We
times.
used through all of our trans fluid.
Yeah, I'm literally slam out of trans fluid. Big shout out to Schaefer's. They're sending us, I think, 5 cases of transmission fluid. But we shouldn't burn through all of that because I fabricated a puke tank drain back reservoir. So what that is we're gonna run the vent line from the transmission to the bottom of that tank. Now that tank will hold 2.5 quarts of fluid, and then as you can see, it's got a port on the right hand side. That port is the actual vent. So as you go down track and it starts puking fluid out of the vent, it will fill that can up. If it fills up really over like 2.25 quarts, that will then vent all the way back to the burn down tank. That stuff's waste. But whatever's filled up in there when you shut the car off, that will then drain back into the transmission. So babysitting the transmission, running it low on trans fluid, any of that stuff, hopefully that's alleviated. And it is now more of like a it's like self-healing pretty much. You know, it's gonna puke some fluid out, but it'll drain it right back in after the pass. So I'm kind of proud of myself. Obviously, it's not that hard of a thing to fabricate, but I was able to, you know, find a piece of 5-inch aluminum, cap it, had the bungs here, put the bungs in there. We're just waiting on the fittings to come in, and we got it bolted right to the roll wire. And I think it looks good in that position. It doesn't stick out, like it's just kind of incognito in there.
No, it's good in there.
I mean, I'm good with it. You good with it?
Yeah.
I'm good with it. So, anything else on this thing? We fixed the axle seal that was leaking. Car went really fast, very happy with it. Suspension's working good. I messed up Saturday, it's my fault. What happened was, here, we'll go over here and show you. So your front struts are making clicks, like here, if get close so they could probably hear this. So this is like your rebound. Hear that, when it makes the click? This is your rebound, you got your compression on the bottom. So the whole time we're running the car, we're looking at the front shock data. We had an issue where the shock was kind of falling off, so we were adjusting the extension, the rebound, and the compression, which how quick it comes down on both sides of the front end. Whenever you make a change to this side, you make it to the other side because you don't want it to be uneven. Saturday, we fired the car up and I saw that the adjuster was spinning, and I'm like, something's not right. Come to find out, all the clicks I've been putting in the shock on the passenger side, they weren't taking. So this one was 11 from full tight, that one was 20 from full tight. When I squared them up, the front end was too tight, we're out first round. So that's my mistake. I should have had a better eye on that previously, but a lot going on. So I was just happy to get down track as fast as we did, and as well as we did on Thursday and Friday. So you live and you learn. We got some stuff done to the Slick Rick, and you know, it's not cheap to operate this car. Very fun to drive it. It drives really good. Very happy with the QA1 mod shocks are on the money. If you guys saw the videos, there are some things we do. I have to make some low speed adjustments on there because it was kind of separating a little slow early, but then it was good through the middle. We get that sorted out. I can't release any times or anything like that. 1, because it's a no time car, but 2, because that was a very strict no time event. So you guys can guesstimate in the comments and talk and say all you want, but for what we were trying to do, I think it maybe slightly exceeded our expectations on how easily it was able to run those numbers up front. Like I said, we weren't able to run a lot of power out the back, so all we could do is really run to the 330, and we hit my 330 goal with not having a lot of power in it. So once we're able to put that power in it from, you know, the 60 foot to the 330, I think we're gonna pick up some more, and I think this thing will be very tough to get around. You know, 60 foot and 330 like a nitrous or a blower car, and then when we put the boost to it, go out the back like a turbo car, it should be pretty competitive. So everything went well. We're going to do a little health check on the motor. Got the stuff for the transmission right. Go over the rear end, nut and bolt the whole thing. We should be ready to go out for another outing. So I think Slick Rick looked good. And yeah, anything you want to add, David? Everyone's loving David's commentary as he makes a pass. I love it when I edit it because it's just like, It's just like raw emotion. Dave's like, oh shit, he got gapped. I'm like, that's great. That is great. It's so much better when David says it, not me, because it's like in the moment live. But anything you want to add?
I'm just ready to see this thing back out of the track.
Yeah. Yeah, we got everything
Keep
good.
chipping away at
the burnout's good. We got the brakes working good. The bump and the two-step. Everyone seems to love the two-step. A big-ass turbo like this, we're leaving on 22 pounds of boost. It makes it in 4 seconds. I don't know what more you could ask for. I'm very happy that everything's coming together. And the converter's tight. We just need to put power to it, and we should be good to go. So everything seems to be looking good. Fingers crossed everything's good with the motor. Maybe roll some bearings in there. And to the racetrack next time.